Alright, imagine a guy who went from sprinkling salt like some kind of culinary wizard to getting booted from football parties like a wannabe influencer. Yep, that's Salt Bae for you. A prime example of how you can sprinkle your way to the top, then pepper your reputation straight into the ground. Hey there everyone! Today, we're diving into one of the most entertaining downfall stories of the internet. And trust me, it's got way more spice than anything Salt Bae ever cooked. We're talking about Nusret, the guy who turned his signature salt sprinkle into a cash cow, only to watch it all come crashing down because of his arrogance, greed, and an ego that's somehow larger than those outrageous golden steaks he served. He started from pretty humble beginnings, rubbing elbows with the rich and famous, boasting about those jaw-dropping dinner bills, and then, bam, watching his restaurant empire crumble, one by one. So grab your popcorn, folks, because we're about to unpack how Salt Bae went from the internet's sweetheart to a global laughingstock. And honestly, why his epic fall from grace might just be the most satisfying dish he's ever served up. Alright, let's dive into the backstory, because honestly, Salt Bae's origin actually makes his downfall even more disappointing. So, Nusret was born in 1983 in a small Turkish village called Pazli. I mean, we're talking about really humble beginnings here. His dad was a mine worker, and the family struggled financially. Things got so tough that young Nusret had to leave school at just 13 to help his family make ends meet. He landed a gig as a butcher's apprentice in Istanbul, working his tail off for 13 grueling hours every single day. No days off, just pure hustle. But this guy was all about passion and hard work back then. He managed to save up a bit of cash and traveled to Argentina in the US to soak up everything he could about the meat industry and steakhouses. And get this, he did it all for free, just to learn the ropes. No cameras, no social media buzz, just him pouring his heart into his craft. Fast forward to 2010, when he opened his first steakhouse with just 8 tables and a small staff. But it was real and focused on serving good food. Turkish billionaire Ferit Şahenk noticed him and was so impressed that he jumped in to invest and help Nusret spread his wings across the Middle East. By 2016, Nusret had already made a name for himself as a businessman, but little did he know his life was about to take a wild turn. Then came January 7th, 2017. That's when everything changed. Nusret dropped this video of himself in a snug white t-shirt and dark sunglasses, slicing up meat and sprinkling salt in this totally over-the-top way. I mean, it was wild. That clip went viral, racking up millions of views, and just like that, he was Salt Bae. The internet went absolutely crazy for this guy. That iconic salt sprinkling move turned into a meme overnight. Celebrities started copying it, and professional athletes celebrated with their signature move on the biggest stages. In no time, Salt Bae became one of the most recognizable faces online. And guess what? He knew exactly how to ride that wave. Almost immediately, he announced plans to open luxury restaurants in New York and London, followed by locations worldwide. But here's where things get a bit murky. It wasn't just about the restaurants. Salt Bae didn't just grow his business. He completely flipped his whole identity and values. The guy who once worked as a butcher, hustling for free to master his craft, suddenly seemed obsessed with fame, excess, and extracting maximum profit from his viral fame. It's kind of a wild transformation, right? The prices on the menu at his new restaurants are absolutely bonkers. I mean, we're talking about a $100 burger, $10 for a can of Red Bull, $25 for one dessert, and then there's the pièce de résistance, an $1,800 24-karat gold-coated tomahawk steak. Seriously, $1,800 for a steak that's just got some cheap gold leaf on it, probably from Amazon, which costs, what, 20 bucks? But here's the wild part. People actually bought it. Not because the food was good, mind you, but because they wanted the Instagram moment. Salt Bae had turned dining into this whole theatrical experience, and customers were dropping thousands just to be part of the show. Week after week, his places were filled with celebrities from sports, music, and beyond, all trying to snag that perfect selfie with the chef who went viral. Now, behind all those golden steaks and flashy celebrity photos, the food itself? Apparently not so great. His steakhouse in London was sitting pretty in the bottom 33% of restaurants on TripAdvisor, with a measly score of 2.9 stars. People were calling it bad food at crazy prices, all style and zero substance, and the biggest scam ever. His New York burger joint was literally branded as the worst restaurant in the city, with critics describing the food as rubbery, mundane, tough, and rather bland. But did Salt Bae care about those awful reviews? Not a chance. He was too busy pumping up his own ego, saying stuff like, "Now everybody wants to be a butcher because of me. Now, if you ask a kid, they want to be Salt Bae. They see me as an idol. I'm an inspiration to a lot of people in a very short period of time." Then came the first big red flag that really showed what Salt Bae was all about. Back in September 2018, a fire stunt at his Istanbul restaurant went horribly wrong. Flames just erupted out of control, injuring 4 people. One of them, a Czech tourist named Kristina Tsnakova, ended up with third-degree burns covering 35% of her body. She was in the hospital for months. Her appearance was permanently altered, and she had to endure extensive surgery and recovery. This wasn't just some random accident. It happened during one of his flashy performances, right in front of customers. You'd think any decent person would jump in and issue a public apology, take responsibility, and, make sure something like that never happens again. But Salt Bae? Nope. He didn't say a word, didn't apologize, and pretty much acted like it was all just a bad dream. But hold on, it gets even worse. So, that same month, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife decided to drop by Salt Bae's restaurant in Istanbul. They ended up enjoying this ridiculously extravagant meal that cost thousands of dollars. Now keep in mind, at that time, Venezuela was experiencing a devastating food crisis, with over 64% of the population losing an average of 25 pounds due to food shortages and widespread hunger. Honestly, you'd think anyone with a shred of human decency would have thought twice about hosting a dictator while people back home were starving. But not Salt Bae. Nope. He rolled out the red carpet for Maduro, even sharing multiple videos online to flaunt it. The backlash was immediate and intense, with protests breaking out in front of his restaurants in Miami and New York. Senator Marco Rubio even jumped in, calling him out, saying something. "I don't know who this weirdo Salt Bae is, but the guy he is so proud to host is not the president of Venezuela. He is actually the overweight dictator of a nation where 30% of the people eat only once a day, and infants are suffering from malnutrition." Eventually, Salt Bae took down those videos, but he never issued an apology because admitting fault wasn't part of his brand. So, back in April 2023, Business Insider dropped a pretty shocking investigation that peeled back the curtain on what was going on behind the scenes at Salt Bae's restaurants. Former employees painted a pretty grim picture, describing him as a petty tyrant who was just obsessed with his image, power, and honestly, a whole lot of excess. It gets worse. People were getting fired on the spot for the tiniest things, like breaking a glass by accident or, heaven forbid, wearing the wrong shirt. I mean, a bartender in London said working there felt like being in the Hunger Games. They even had to pretend to create fake lines outside when things were slow. During the pandemic, some workers were forced to sleep in restaurants without receiving overtime pay. There were multiple lawsuits claiming that management was skimming off 3% from tips or just not handing them out at all, especially when celebrities were in the house. And for the women working there, the situation was even worse. They faced harassment and discrimination on top of everything else. They were told to wear revealing outfits, denied promotions based on their appearance, and subjected to a toxic work environment where male coworkers felt entitled to follow them home. Just wild. But Salt Bae's ultimate downfall moment came on December 18th, 2022 during the FIFA World Cup final. Argentina had just pulled off an incredible win against France, and while everyone was celebrating, fans cheering, players emotional, Salt Bae thought, "Hey, this is my moment too." He breached security, crashed onto the pitch, and began pestering Lionel Messi for photos at literally the most significant moment of Messi's career. I mean, come on. As if that wasn't bad enough, he then went and snatched the actual World Cup trophy, posing with it like he was part of the winning squad. The whole world was just cringing, watching this guy turn Argentina's massive victory into his little photo opportunity. The backlash was huge and came fast. People were calling it a prime example of shamelessness, clout chasing at its finest, and yeah, what an idiot. FIFA didn't take too kindly to it either. They launched an investigation against him. Which brings us to June 1st, 2025, when Salt Bae was publicly kicked out of the UEFA Champions League final after-party for trying to enter uninvited. And not just kicked out, he was literally escorted by security. The footage went viral, but not in a good way. It showed him, once a big deal, looking like just another party crasher getting booted out. He tried to play it off, saying he was there to greet his thousands of fans. But let's be real, nobody bought that excuse. The mockery had kind of lost its edge. And not because folks suddenly liked him. It's just that most people seem to have moved on and don't care anymore. And honestly, that's where Salt Bae is today. Pretty much forgotten and fading fast. A lot of his steakhouses in the US have closed down. His Boston spot was shut down due to health violations. Then his Beverly Hills restaurant suddenly closed in 2025. And get this, his London location has seen profits drop by over 50%. The Dallas and Las Vegas restaurants, they're history. Right now, only Miami and New York are hanging on. On top of that, his social media followers are dropping like flies. His connections with celebrities have dried up, and companies aren't inviting him to events anymore. Associating with him just brings controversy, not clout. It's wild to think that this guy, who once boasted about dinner bills hitting 6 figures, is now watching his restaurant empire crumble one by one. You know what's really satisfying about Salt Bae's downfall? It's not just that he messed up, it's that he did it for all the right reasons. I mean, the guy had it all. Viral fame, connections with celebrities, a booming business, and the chance to be loved by everyone, kind of like Gordon Ramsay. But instead of playing it smart, he prioritized greed over quality, ego over empathy, and opted for a show over genuine care for people. The internet gave Salt Bae everything, and he responded by showing complete disrespect for the very people who put him in the spotlight. His downfall isn't just karma, it's justice served exactly as it should be, one closed restaurant at a time. The most ironic part is that he had all the ingredients for long-term success. Great backstory? Check. Charisma? Absolutely. That viral moment most people only dream about? Yep, he had it all. But instead of adding a pinch of integrity and a dash of respect to his empire, he drowned it in greed and arrogance. Now, Salt Bae is pretty much a walking meme, a reminder that viral fame without real substance is just a fancy mirage. What do you think? Did he bring this on himself, or was the internet just too harsh? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about how fame can turn success into a costly disaster.